sounds like not going to something.
We don't go. If the board goes, this is our stuff. We don't go off on.
It's a rental.
The board is
It's a resolution.
nothing will get done. Now, you're right. I could say, well, that's not all.
But I hear you, I'm about the same thing.
Yeah, and that makes.
So you're talking board session.
Yeah, I'm going over. Yeah, I'm because I'm going down the street. Tomorrow, I'm gonna go to the
Okay.
pharmacy, it's walking. And I can get an RSV. I already got one, so I get my RSV like program, which reminds me.
Oh, Wednesday, 1 o'clock.
Yes.
Sorry, can you please check with Leanne and see if we're live?
No, it's now.
I think your mic is on.
No, you're live.
Mics are now live.
We are back. Retro, do you have a motion for it? Or I think that's what we.
I have your email.
Okay, so anything else?
Motion.
Well, are you gonna say what your motion is for the record, so I'm not creating it?
Okay, well, yeah, the motion, I would move that we apply the guidelines as submitted to the existing committee structure. And that the next meeting that is wordsmithed into the board rules, so we can review those rules at that time. Or
Can you say what was that last part? Because today, if you vote on this motion, you'll be approving the board rules. Are you gonna amend them again next month, did you say?
yes.
We
Well-
might have to.
We can, because this language would need to be inserted into the board rules, correct? I mean, probably should have support before there's discussion.
Support.
Yeah.
So I think we just need to add to your motion if you amend your motion to, where does it need to go? I'm trying to dig for my packet again. So it needs to be inserted in on page such and such.
Page 9.
Page 9. Do you want it between any one place or the other, but just insert it in on page 9 then. And if we have to amend it next month, come back and amend it, but so.
Okay, seconded by my partner, and I just have a question for you. I'll put your discussion in that you just said, I understand that, but I just have clarification for my motions. Because it's the administrator's office that will be amending this if you get to approval process. But this here will not negate your finance meeting today because that was directed by the Board of Commissioners, so you're good to go ahead with that for today.
That would be my understanding.
Okay, I just want to make sure you understand.
Further understanding with this motion, any further actions on the part of the personnel committee or finance committee would be authorized by the executive board in future executive board meetings. Commissioner Kramer?
So just to clarify, so this would give the board the ability to steer the direction of the committees. So for instance, the gentleman from MSU today, I feel like those sort of discussions need to be a part of our entire board. Because those are very big discussions and could potentially, affect basically the entire county. So I don't Yeah, I don't know other than like what the language is that we could possibly potentially.
That's included. in
That's
this.
all included, so we'll be good to go.
In other words, I mean, the way the trees, if you don't tell the committee to do something, it can't do it.
Cool.
You know, specifically, I mean, that rounded up and the language in there has specific, not, you know, so that's what I think is done to address it. And then back to Mr. Aaron's, I'm not sure, am I pronouncing it right? Anaheim? Arnheim, okay, sorry. I spoke with him on the phone and he really is, gonna kind of just ask to go forward with some other stuff today. So the meeting today is not, you're not gonna miss a whole lot, and we could arrange that be presented like at the back end, we could do our next finance council at the back end of a,
Could he come to the public?
yeah, we'll try and do that. I mean, I will try to honor that, but we can discuss that with him at the meeting, so.
Very similar to when we hired the MLI guy, he came and spoke to you guys, right?
Yeah, before we did it.
No.
Are you talking about the climate survey?
No,
No,
the
okay.
John Schultz that came to the full board, sat there and you guys asked. Yeah, it's the same idea.
We weren't allowed to ask questions.
That-
I know what you know.
We have two commissioners that want to speak, but our finance director also has asked to speak, so let's start with you.
Yes, the MSU extension was a recommendation from the full board to the administrative board. Thank you. And so we are following that recommendation from the full board to have him come speak. He certainly can come again. I think that if we continue with the committee structure, the leadership of the executive board would be the vetting agent for anything to be assigned to the committee structure. If committee chairs are approached before the executive has vetted, the leadership of those committees should put up a big stop sign and say, has the executive vetted this and assigned it to this committee? Firmly, this is a leadership issue as far as I'm concerned. I do agree that finance should be heard by committee of the whole. And if committee of the whole wants a deep dive, then they could say, let's go to a smaller committee, and you could name the committee at that time. It doesn't have to be a standing committee. It could be, gosh, this might be a good thing for Commissioner Auger. She has experience in this particular vein of finance. I don't know. I'm just saying, I think you have latitude to be creative with your subcommittees. But finance, for me, to be your interim or your full-time finance director, to make sure you all have all the information, is like herding cats. So I would prefer finance at committee of the whole. That's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Commissioner Albert and then Commissioner O'Rourke.
Just a brief statement. So at the meeting this afternoon, I will sit in the audience and listen to Mr. Emrine and not be able to speak or ask questions. And I think that's not appropriate. I will be there unhappily.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Rourke.
Just a suggestion, this should go on page 8-1A.
That's question mark, I'm fine with that. I have motion is amended for that placement.
Is that page 8? Page 8.
It's page 8 of the package that this,
So you want it page
1A, yes.
Clerk, please read the motion one more time and then we'll take a vote.
placement.
Motion by Rexroth that the Leelanau County Board of Commissioners apply the guidelines as submitted to the existing committee structure, seconded by Lautner. And I'm taking and will include what is in this email.
Okay, does this replace C, committee procedures?
It replaces what?
C?
No.
Except for 7. Number 7, C7 has to still be in there, obviously.
Are you
I
talking
think you
about-
can leave all that stuff and just add this.
I think it was
language
suggested.
in there.
1A
1A is
to
what,
insert.
Or just move them all down and make it number 1.
All right, well, we have to just
Okay, I think what she's referring to is on page 8, letter D, committee meetings. Meetings of the executive board of commissioners, standing committee or select committee may be convened by its chairperson or a majority of its members upon reasonable notice. That I think is what she is saying doesn't apply now because we're gonna want to have that amended so that they don't try, someone doesn't decide they want to
Right,
vote.
so-
And we
So
will,
amend
we
the
will,
motion to pull D.
we will review the final version at our next meeting. We'll have the administrator's office incorporate this in the book, and then we'll bring it back to this group and take one more look
Okay,
at it.
we're gonna pull D then. That's, the idea is this replaces D, what Michelle just read.
I don't know if it completely replaces it or amends it. I can't think to that depth right at this moment, but I agree with that, that we should have the language be incorporated and bring it back.
It just amends it, doesn't delete the whole section because the
Right.
administrator and I can compare notes when she's putting this together because there is value in the rest of the sentences in there. It's just, there's a
Okay.
portion.
Right, agreed. Yeah, thank you, I guess that's what I
Thank you.
should say.
Are we ready to vote on this then, please? Let's do a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Rexroth,
Yes.
Commissioner Ross,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Ogre,
No.
Commissioner Kramer,
A hesitant, yes.
Commissioner Lautner,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Rourke,
Yes.
6-1.
Thank you. Thank you. And will you bring that back to us? We'll take one final look at the copy.
I know that, I know.
We're now on page 10 of our board book, page 9 of the official board rules.
Just housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
It's just the date changes on 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I had something. So we would be on page 15 of the rules, which is 16 in your,
16 of the pack.
in the bottom right corner.
The only significant proposed change is in the middle of page 15 under public comment, and that is just a suggestion, and we can talk about that. Public comment, we have 4A and 4B. 4B is a suggested addition based on some input we've had, but not full board discussion.
So I may be back a bit. On special session agenda, we have public comment 3 minutes and then 5, but we don't have the public comment before the meeting agenda specific, and I would like to suggest that be agenda specific as well, like we do with other meetings.
What are you on now?
Executive.
Are you back on page 10?
I'm
page
on
11?
11.
11.
Special session agenda.
This is related, it's the same question that's on page 15 under public comment. The suggestion was just one public comment at special meetings at the end of the meeting. If we don't want to approve that, then we do what Commissioner Auger is talking about.
Right.
Now, if you look at, you go to page 15, when that would say, other than regular executive, there's just one public comment.
Well, I was stuck on 11 because if we go back down to 15, so that'll, if we change that, it'll go back and strike.
Yes, it would amend that one
Okay,
as well.
so I would suggest no changes to our present, yeah, and I read this last night, and I couldn't write on my screen. I am absolutely not in favor of eliminating the first public comment at any meeting.
We just
3 minutes is fine.
work all that tradition, then that at any meeting, that first comment be restricted to agenda specific and then full. comment.
Yeah, agenda specific is fine for that meeting, but we do need to have that public comment at the beginning. 3 minutes is fine, agenda specific is fine. 5 minutes at the end of the meeting for any public comment.
So you're gonna revise.
Well, I
number 4B
just,
on
where
page-
is the original, like, where is that original paragraph? Page 4, public comment. All we have is a changed one here, because it's been deleted. So,
But I think if you just, you have to amend 4B for all of the meetings. The first public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and be agenda specific. And there'll be one comment offered at the end. That actually fixes that because the other
if
part,
that fixes it, I was reading that.
I think that addresses your concerns that they're not misunderstanding.
Would you like to make a motion to that effect?
My motion is what he just said, so in the full wording, then,
So we would accept the changes on page, this is just discussions, I want to say it so people can hear it before I make
Go
that
ahead.
motion, so. Take the page 15 of the rules, 16 the packet, we would accept for A changes, and we would amend 4B for all of the meetings. There will be one initial public comment limited to 3 minutes and be agenda specific, and one public comment at the end. 5 minutes, non-agenda specific.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Discussion.
So, okay, so I'm not finding, my page 15 doesn't have what you were doing, but 15.
It's 16 in the packet, 15 in the.
Okay.
I think it
Agenda specific is what I was looking for, so if your motion says, I was hesitant about that in the beginning, but I think it works well. And I think it's a good idea to keep public comment before meetings agenda specific.
And I guess
It lets us get to the business.
Agree.
So is that what you,
that's what it said, yeah.
Okay.
For any other meeting. I guess you probably could eliminate, let's say, for all meetings, I mean, is there any meeting not covered by
Just the
that?
regular. The regular, they can speak in the beginning, right?
Yeah, regular meetings, unless we change, they can speak to anything at the beginning.
Okay, all right, yeah, so that's still needed, so my motion, I get it, I'm sorry, that motion is still needed, because I don't wanna, at our regular meeting, we allow public comment on any topic, so I'm sorry, so I think what I said though is still the correct motion, so. I don't know if there was support.
can we restate that?
So, we would accept, changes 4A on page 15 of the rules, page 16 of the packet. And we will amend 4B to read for all other meetings, there should be 1 3-minute public comment at the beginning of the meeting, limited to agenda specific. And 1 5-minute public comment at the end of the meeting, for any subject.
I would support that.
So we have a motion and it's been supported. Are we ready to vote? All those.
I have a question, it says the time limit, except where extended by the chairperson or any person here. If someone's up there for 3 minutes and I want to hear the rest of it,
Then
only
you-
the chairperson has the right to extend that.
And you could request the chair to allow them to continue to speak.
Okay, thank you.
And then you can vote, and if he says no, you can move to vote.
You can vote on it.
Okay, thanks.
All those in support of the motion on the floor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. We now are on page 16 of the board rules, page 17 of the board packet.
Formatting and date change, right?
Correct. Housekeeping.
Up in there. Same thing for 17.
So that includes the workers.
I'm looking for a motion to approve the board rules as amended.
I so move.
Or.
All those in support of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Now turning to our agenda, we have an approval of our 2024 meeting schedule. And that is proposed on page 19 of our board packet.
I think we've already done so.
All right, just a second. Let's go check the 9:30 meeting time. Okay.
We will change to 9:30. But all the dates remain the same. Could I have a motion to approve that schedule?
This reflects our discussions earlier, right? This is,
I believe so.
That looks
Yeah,
like-
it keeps our statutory meeting on the first Tuesday in October. In the annual session on the second Tuesday. That's my main concern. And April also has it covered.
I would move to approve the meeting schedule as amended to start the executive board meetings at 9:30.
Support.
For that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
Motion approved
No,
7-0. We now have the schedule of monthly updates from individual departments and agencies on page 20 of our board packet. Yeah, yes.
So commissioners, this has typically been the standard of the reports from different departments that have come to present or are affiliated agencies or entities that we have agreements with. So if there's any discussion, I know this is one of the things that we've discussed in the past. We will be continuing to work with these individuals that are making reports to ask them, they'd like to submit their report, that's great, but we would also ask that they present a 5-minute, not more than a 5-minute presentation. And if they would like to do a 1-page summary, we're recommending that. We would discourage any people from going through the full PowerPoint presentation, just for the essence of time, because we have such full agendas.
So just I do appreciate the 5-minute limit. I mean, but that's our responsibility to receive these, review them, read them, and know our information. So I'm okay, and I really appreciate the encouragement. 5 minutes, unless someone has questions and wants more.
5 minutes for what? For presentations?
5 minutes for presentation, not counting any questions or discussion brought up by commissioners.
Question
You know
was,
what,
yeah,
Go ahead.
5 minutes. The people coming to present are representing what they do for us all year long. And it's important. And I don't think we do it justice or them justice to say 5 minutes. 10. I think would be fair. Some of these people are driving a long distance. I was driving 100 miles to come and present what my group does for an entire year for us, and you guys told me I could talk for 5 minutes. And I'd say, well, how about Zoom? I think we benefit from that information. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think 10 minutes is very fair. Up to, they may not be 10. Don't take it out 10.
Yeah, some people will be glad if it's just
Yeah.
up to.
Sure, so up to 10, I do agree with that. And in the, I think that sometimes I think the biggest value of these presentations is not to us, it is to our general public. So I often kind of see a head cock, and I know the public has questions, and I don't know how we could, if there's just 1 or 2 questions, I think it's not write it into the board rules, but if there is a question, I would like to see the public be allowed to ask, or maybe it's just a confirmation or clarification from the public, and then that would be heavily on the board chair to control that. But if there's just 1 or 2 questions and it's important to them to get that information, because I want to see the public get as much out of those presentations as us. Because, Commissioner Auger, you're exactly right. These are all very important services to our public.
So I hear Commissioner Auger saying, suggesting it'd be 5 to 10 minutes. And of course, this board always has flexibility to extend that if they want to.
Can I just,
Yes, Commissioner Ruffin.
I just see a couple things in yellow and something crossed out. So like, North Networks Northwest just doesn't exist. They do know they still, so they're just not. Why are they crossed out, I guess is my question. And then MERS is in yellow.
I'm not sure that we have had an ongoing first presentation. I know we had one most recently. But so I think some of these, I'll have to confirm that, but in Networks Northwest, we've not had representation on that board for some time. Yeah, okay, we have, I said for some time, but we have now. So again, I'll have to confirm if that was something. It says ED, I'm not sure exactly what that.
Can be
Executive board.
Okay,
Yeah.
perhaps it is.
I think they were undergoing some personnel changes in the executive director, and so they did not report to us.
Okay, but they should.
So AM
They're
has
so
to be annual
complicated.
meeting, AM is our annual meeting, otherwise it's regular session.
And then, under AM too, that 4-H report, that was just a one-time thing. So 4-H will be reported under MSU in August. There was just a
Thank you. That's
problem, but yeah, so.
Do we have a motion on the table? To approve this schedule with,
No.
okay.
I think it's kind of a living, it's more of
Yeah.
information.
I would say so too, let's leave it.
The administrator sometimes has to make changes to people's availability, so.
No action necessary.
It's just kind of a guideline. It's been,
Just make sure we're covering everything.
I appreciate that.
Real briefly to Commissioner Walker's comment about the public, it seems like for certain commentators, we moved them in front of public comment. You know, that might not be a good idea for all of these presentations, because that would give a chance that, I mean, we can't directly answer those questions, but if that presentation was given at the beginning, public could ask questions, then those answers would be given back at research. Does that work, or is there?
Yeah, that's what we had decided.
Yeah. Well, some of them have that just out of respect for timelines, but go ahead.
That may be an issue then with your board rules in terms of the agenda, because you set that in the agenda structure. So I just want to make sure that we're compliant with that.
Page 11 of our handout.
So we need to change that, or I guess what's everybody's thought on that? I mean, that
Actually,
does-
the way that it currently is for regular meeting
And
and
executive board.
executive meeting.
Both have the presentations first and then public comment.
Just wanted to confirm that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
What the administrator is looking for with this section is just confirmation from you that you agree to continue with this, and she has the latitude because of people's availability of her movings around.
And I think all of us concur with that. And if any one of us want a special presentation, we get with the administrator and ask her to schedule that. Next on our agenda is item number 5, and I did reach out and ask for anybody that wanted changes to the committee structure to talk to me. I had only just one request, and that is from Commissioner Kramer. She has a schedule full of meetings, and I would like to propose that we reinstate Lynn, Commissioner Algar, as our representative to Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. She was in that role before Jamie took over a year ago. If you concur with that appointment, that'll happen. If you want to vote on that, we can do that. And we have a new representative to Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. It's like
It's a great board, an amazing board.
And I would like to bring up the MEC Ag and Tourism Committee, which I was told I could do that. It often conflicts with other meetings for me. Ag and Tourism typically meets on Zoom. And if you're interested in agriculture, for instance, they put together their proposal to the legislature on agriculture. So And then they didn't meet through the summer. But it's an interesting committee and we have not had representation on that. And I think it would be beneficial for us to. And they do agricultural issues.
Commissioner Wagner?
I was just going to add in recent years, I'll try to zoom into one of those just because I'd like to see how far it's come, because in the past it wasn't covered there, agricultural wasn't covered or represented very well. So I'm really happy to hear that they're actually covering that. And I'd like to see if they're actually covering how in depth they are covering a lot of the issues that they're actually dealing with right now. Eminent domain, for one, is very concerning to the ag field.
Be willing to accept that as
Yeah,
an
that's
official
fine.
appointment? Does everybody concur with that? So could we let them know that we have a Commissioner Wagner will be our representative to the Ag and Tourism Group?
Okay, are you still doing it as well? Or do you want me to cover it when you can? No.
No, I'm
Okay,
not.
that's fine then. To be clear. All
You're
right,
the-
sure. Certainly.
Item number 6 on the agenda, I heard nobody that wanted off your standing committees. I assume leave those as is with the modifications in our board rules that gives direction to financing personnel and all other standing committees. Everybody in agreement?
Yes.
The 7th item on the agenda, there were questions raised about our legal contract with our attorney and what was covered under retainer and what was extra fees. I've asked Jeff to introduce this and then we will have discussion.
Chairman, are you going to do any motion or are you just going to make those appointments? Last year you made a motion to approve those appointments.
I move to approve the committee board and appoint commissioner appointments to boards and commissions for 2024.
Support.
All those in support of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion approved 7-0.
As amended.
That's what I talked to you about
We
yesterday.
need the standing committees or use the debt.
Yeah, included it. Got it, Michelle?
Right.
Is that good? Including same committees as presented, as amended, all that.
So, Deb, tell us what we have here.
Sure. So what you have in front of you is a communication that in regards to information that was in my administrative update to try and address any questions or concerns that had been brought up at the at the prior board meeting, I believe also at the finance meeting on the 29th for the special meeting. So the communication, the 4th bullet there in my county commissioner's update speaks to the historical process. You'll see the email that is attached that speaks to the fact that there has been a long-standing practice of us redacting information that is on the legal invoices and the justification for some of that. This is not a requirement from Cole Stoker. This has just been a past practice that has been accepted and approved. You also have in the packet that I just handed out, it says original page 1 of 9. This gives you an example because I think there was a comment by Commissioner Kramer that wants to see past practice. So I went back in the records and was able to pull information from August of 2020. So this gives you what was received. There is the document that comes from Cole Stoker, and then it gives kind of an overview of what the general statement of what the fees are. And then there's a more detailed list behind it, which would be page 2 of 9, which speaks to the different components of what is outlined in the legal summary. So in some instances, the board will see that some of these issues had to do with internal controls, some do with legal issues, some do with personnel issues. And so all of this information is and has always been available to the board to access and review. We always keep the complete document available. What is sometimes given to accounting is a more redacted document. So with that said, that has been the practice. We've had some obvious changes in how we're doing our accounting, and so I think it's fair to say that there could certainly be some other ways of looking at this. So as you continue on page 3, page 4, you also see page 5. This is a summary, again, that was approved by both Chet Janik and by the clerk, Michelle Crocker. Then you'll see page 6 of 9, more services, professional services rendered. And then page 7 of 9 is actually more detail. And also page 8 of 9, more detail, even to the point where if you look at page, the next section there, 1 of 4, keep moving through the document, we just tried to give you as much information as we could. That was expanded upon, and so accounting copy, page 1 of 4. And you'll see accounting copy 2 of 4, and then you'll also see accounting copy, page 3 of 4, which shows that there was redacted copy provided to accounting by the county clerk. So this has been a well-accepted practice by both administration and through the clerk's office in regards to how this information has typically been shared. Again, whatever the board's pleasure on how we do this, I think that in past history, it has been primarily to preserve, I think, you know, legal documents that are of potential concern. I don't know, I would assume that perhaps the clerk could speak to that as well. Or perhaps our finance.
On page 3 of 4, it says redacted copies provided to county by county clerk. Does that mean our clerk redacted it or full scope?
I would have to defer to the clerk because I just saw these documents on Friday that were made available to me.
I just saw before we call on Gwen, could we have the clerk and the finance director respond to what the administrator said?
I do want to respond to one thing on here. Now, this one invoice was from 2020. You've got two things going on here. You have retainer invoices and you have non-retainer invoices. This one from 2020, that if you go backwards a couple pages.
Michelle, could you get closer to the microphone?
Am I not speaking loud enough? I will speak very loud.
And what page, please?
On page 8 of 9 of this handout, if you look at that invoice, and I'm gonna go back, believe me, when I get to my office, because I did not bring these files in with me. You will see it's the Anthony Donk litigation. And there were several counties that went in on this. That's not the point. The bill itself doesn't say anything. But in 2020, I believe finances were still under my authority. And when I am looking at this, whether or not it's redacted, I'm going to go look, but I know for a fact that that redacted copy provided to a county by county clerk was not placed on that document by me. It may be on there, but it was not placed on there by me. I've got in my office multiple copies, especially when you look at outside retainer fees. Because prior to this year, just for different reasons, elected officials need litigation. My election commission was sued, we need it, it's not redacted. I was sued under CPL for denying a CPL, so I have to defend myself. I see what you have here. I am gonna go look into this further because I would like to know how that got on there. But on the invoices, prior to that, it's litigation, and that would be non-retainer. And I do have the amounts of money that was spent for non-retainer relative to myself, the sheriff, the CPLs. So that's all I can say at this point on this. If you get to retainer versus non-retainer in the history of expenditures, I'm sure Kathy can explain it. I think that you guys had asked for the administrator and her to meet. I don't know about that, but I know that I've looked at what's gone on in the past.
Kathy?
Yes, and to expand on this further, in the previous administrative setup, we had Administrator Yannick and the county clerk also acting as your finance accounting. they would receive the bills and they would redact or not redact. There are some redactions in the files. And then the originals would be kept if they were redacted at that level. And if the redactions went to the account clerk, that is appropriate. An account clerk does not need to have that kind of detailed information at that entry level. So just for prudence, I can see that an account clerk might recall, I always received redacted invoices. So I'm just clarifying. I would also do that in this new administration, that the bills come in and I am aware of what your non-retainer is so that the account numbers are vetted. So I know we're charging the correct department for those bills or not. Until now, I've had to just go on faith, and that is why I have presented them to claims and accounts under protest, because I am not aware of those accounts. I can't verify it because I haven't been availed of the invoices prior to redaction. I brought this to the new administrator's attention early on in her employment. I brought it to Sean's attention when he was the finance director. During that time, before Sean came on board, I contacted a peer in another county. And I said, as finance director, or whatever title that person has in their county, it's all different, as MSU will tell you. He said, I would never sign off or put a bill in front of the board that I have not vetted. So I, under protest, have just told you, I am presenting it to you. You can look at the bills if you come in. I believe Commissioner Lautner has done so upon occasion. Commissioner Kramer, when time allows, you come in and ask to see the file. You certainly can. The files that I have access to are the files that an account clerk constructs. They are the redacted invoice, a copy of the check, the signatures on those. And I can tell you, the last claims and accounts on special session, there were 235 invoices that you reviewed on December 29th. Those invoices have all been handled between me and my account clerk and the department head or the elected official at least 5 or 6 times. They're vetted. But I'm not going to sit here and garner the trust of this board and tell you something that's not true. I will not tell you that I have vetted those invoices. And I won't.
What is your recommendation to the board?
I recommend that the board understand that they can see any invoice anytime they like, and that I see the unredacted non-retainer so that I can verify the account number that it belongs to. The topic, you know, it's confidential at that level. I don't say I don't care. It's not about me. It's about assigning the correct account number, the correct department, the correct expense to the correct elected official or department head, their budget. So that I'm untrustworthy, it's just, that bothers me, because I'm coming to you with my integrity intact.
Do we have a motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion. Stopping at topic, Jen's got it, I'm sure. So,
Now, you want to speak to it and then we'll have discussion.
yes, absolutely. Thank you, Kathy. I mean, you put it quite eloquently. I know I've been concerned about the costs. I've seen them, as you know, I look at every single line item in our claims and accounts, and we've noticed these large numbers of the non-retainers. So I think if somewhere around for 2023, $31,000, and that's pretty unprecedented for us. So we just need to know why, we need to know what's going on. That is our duty. So, and I do encourage all of us to go in and read those statements. I have in the past on and off, and not consistently, and that's my new goal. So I'm really glad that came out, because I made a comment a couple months ago about being very concerned about leaks out of our administration. And if you go to page 1 and look at the middle of the page there, I was absolutely floored that number 1, I'm on page 1, so it's like the third one. There's 3 ones, the third number 1. And it says, Deb, Commissioner Lautner arrived shortly after 3 p.m. and requested my copies of the October legal invoices from Coastal for review. And she is in the director's office reviewing them. Are you kidding me? So either did you ask her to spy on commissioners or did you just allow commissioners to be spied on? So it just blows me away because that is one of at least 3 things that I've been attacked on out of that office. And I'm just telling you right now, I don't like it. This is my statutory duty, period.
I would let Alan respond to that, and then we'll take other comments. We do have a motion on the floor to approve the recommendation that our finance director has made. I would just, in turning over to you, say that I raised a question a couple weeks ago. Do you ever deny any commissioner the opportunity to look at the bill? And the answer was no.
Correct.
So I just think we have to keep that in mind.
So in response to Commissioner Lautner, I mean, the reality is my staff is to educate me and inform me if commissioners have made requests. I would hope that requests would come to me as the administrator. Oftentimes they do not. I don't often know if there's a question or an inquiry or an issue or something's been raised. Yeah, I've been totally circumvented on many different issues. So I think this was just an acknowledgement by staff saying, hey, just an FYI, letting you know that a commissioner has come in and has made a request so that I have the ability to follow up and say, did you get what you needed? Was there a concern? Was there a question? How can I help? I can only be as effective as you as the board allow me to be. And so in these situations, I would just appreciate knowing these things so that I can be helpful, be your administrator. So that, I guess, would be the only comment that I would say. It was not meant to be sneaky or whatever. If anything, I think it was just meant to be informative and to let me know, because otherwise I would not know what the issue was. Thank you.
The subject matter at hand is motion on the board and how we redact copies, so I guess I'm gonna call the question.
Can I
All
also,
those in
before you
support
call the
of-
vote, can I
all those in
speak?
support of calling the
Do you
question,
have my
say
number
aye.
Before Rex wrote. Sorry, I don't mean to say that to you,
I
but
think,
just.
just a second. I think because the question was called, we have to vote on that issue before we can take additional comment. People know you want to speak, so I suspect they're not going to support the motion.
So I don't have a problem with speaking, so
If you want to withdraw your.
I'll withdraw and I call the question. So
I'd like to follow up on the administrator's comment. In the spirit of transparency, I feel like any commissioner should be able to request or get information without the permission or the guidance of the administrator. This is our board. We in fact run the county. And I think that needs to be noted. You are working for us, Deb, and not vice versa. So if we want to go get legal documents, we should be able to do that at any time without preparation. And I just want to keep that clear for the entire board.
Thank you, Commissioner Rohr.
I completely agree, but when someone wants to come in and get something that's redacted or that, I really think that a record should be kept of that request. It seems to me that quite often the board's business is tried in the Leelanau Ticker or the Enterprise before I get it.
So we have a motion on the floor. Yes, Commissioner Holder.
I will support this motion. Overall, above that, we just got this. I'm very uncomfortable. I support this motion, but beyond that, I think we need more. I need time to digest all of this. We were just handed. This was just handed to us.
I understand that we were sent that last week, but you've had a very busy weekend with your health issues.
I just have one more comment in that you have given me the responsibility and the authority over your general ledger. And I do need to feel very comfortable putting claims and accounts in front of you that I acquire a level of trust with you, that I have reviewed these. The records are mine if I am in charge of your general ledger.
Thank you. I think we have a motion on the floor.
I just have one more comment. I would assume that we're also, besides just making sure they go to the right account, when I read all the things that are included in retainer, we'll also be reviewing to see is this actually non-retainer or not. I trust our account billing attorney, but I assume you'll be reviewing with an unredacted version. You'll be able to make sure we actually hold this deal outside the retainer bill fee to begin with, because there's a pretty big list of
Yes.
things covered with retainer.
I've gone back and looked at non-retainer fees. There's zero in this line item for at least the last 5 years. So this is a concern that we're being charged when maybe we shouldn't be,
I guess that's.
but I have no idea.
But this will give you the ability to review that.
If we have a motion, and I think
So we are gonna be able to understand what all these non-retainer fees are for. We're gonna follow up on that.
And yes, you can, we can put this on the agenda. We do have the contract with Cole Stoker in our board packet that spells out what's retainer and what's not. And Kathy, knowing if it's redacted or not, knowing who the bill goes to, can determine whether it was accurately billed.
Yeah, I can read the terms of the contract and even question Cole Stoker. I have a working relationship with their office, so I can call and say, I'm unsure why this falls out of retainer and we're being charged non-retainer for this, and try to get to the bottom. That's what you pay me for.
And just to be clear, any commissioner and the finance director can ask any questions that they want at any time, and they're expected to do so. And I know you agree with it. We have a motion. I think we're ready to vote.
Yeah.
All those in support of the motion to approve the recommendation of our finance director, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved 7-0. Thank you.
I have just one more comment. I'm glad we got this far. Because it hasn't been, oh, certainly, here are the documents. I have had to insist on seeing that. So, I disagree 100% with the comments made by our administrator on keeping a tally on what we are doing as our job. Because on one hand, you can't tell a commissioner that no, you can't know that, and you can't ask those questions, and you can't be involved in that, and then, oh, but we want to do it, we want to know everything you're doing. So I'm very, very disturbed by that. And this is all about communication. In the past, we had good communication. Right now, we do not have good communication. And to take that further, I really don't know why we've been doing the blanket redacting. So I hope we don't do that any longer. You can take out what is absolutely necessary, but honestly, I really don't see much in here of what our general public can't see we're spending their money on. So, perhaps it would have to be done through FOIA, but we don't need to be redacting everything as a just blanket redaction.
We have approved the motion. We have a new policy in place. The issue of communication will be taken up when we have our review process next month.
Could I make a clarification, Chairman? I misspoke slightly. I wanted to say the Board of Commissioners line item for legal has not had charges for many, many years. There are charges, as the clerk referenced, to CPL to defend in that situation, to CDBG grant. I have confirmed with the Drain Commissioner that he felt comfortable with the charges that were to his department on Cole Stoker. I just wanted to clarify that I was referencing specifically the charges to the Board of Commissioners, and I don't want to be misunderstood. Thank you.
But I would ask the finance director to review all of the bills that you had a question about. And if we need further board discussion, we can do that at your executive.
Thank you.
Yes.
Just one short comment, the legal services contract as provided is the 20th day of April 9th of 2021. I think we need to update that.
It is ongoing. It will be up this year. So that.
That was a 3-year. Okay.
We're speaking to, legal counsel is on the executive committee agenda, at least as a placeholder right now, to be able to address their contract.
Okay, so
And any
there's,
other questions the board?
there was nothing new that just popped up on this. This has been in place. Okay, thank you.
Well, we have completed our agenda. We have board rules, we have committee assignments, we've addressed the policy from the finance director, and we are now at our last opportunity for public comment. Before we ask that, we'd like to thank the public for coming, and you may speak.
Okay, thank you. I haven't done this before, so I should speak over
Yes.
here.
And Michelle will ask you to speak loudly into the microphone.
State your name.
Linda Ackley Eager, and I'm from 8683 South Good Harbor Trail, Cedar. I have found this extremely interesting. Up until now, I've depended on news reports from the Ticker and from the Enterprise, and I don't feel like they probably give me the full picture. So it's nice to come here, see the dynamic, see how you all try to work together and find resolution. And I just want to applaud you all and thank you for your service, because I think you're way underpaid. And what it takes out of you is a lot. I can see that just from this brief meeting. But I do want to address one thing, and that has to do with transparency. I know there are some of you, this is a big issue for some of you. Well, it's a big issue for me too. And I don't see how it works unless it's across the board. So when commissioners are accessing information, which could be confidential, I don't know because I'm not in the system, but when it comes to numbers and handling the books, I've been doing my own accounting for my company for 40 years. And if you're going to have access to something, I think you really need to sign in and sign out and be accountable, and not have somebody making a note or somebody get offended because everybody knows you went in and looked. I mean, really, be transparent about it. If you want to access financial records, sign in and sign out. What's the big problem? So that's it. That's my only comment. And again, thanks for your service.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Yes, Renee.
So I was not aware of this meeting, but Darcy Weber asked me to show up to this meeting. As you know, she resigned as a human resource director. And it appears that this personnel committee may have been, taking over her job. I'm not sure. It looks like the personnel committee was involved in speaking to the employees, and we're not allowed to see those by FOIA, which is a big problem. There are other whistleblowers, people in the or public employees who are coming forward and want to come forward. So maybe we need to do a whistleblower advocacy committee, perhaps, because we've got a lot of shenanigans going on here. We got all these invoices redacted. A whistleblower confided in me that there are timestamps being altered on at least one invoice. This was an invoice in the amount of $13,000 to Raymond, which is the auditor. So I need all of you to sign in for that record and find out why that timestamp was altered by 2 months. Is that what we're doing now? Because we can't pay our bills? We're gonna, when an invoice comes in, we're gonna backdate the receipt of that? Is that what we're gonna do? To juggle all of this finance business? We've had 5 directors, finance directors resign. I love Kathy, wherever she is. She is trustworthy. She should be our finance director. But we need to get into these FOIAs, have our FOIAs answered by Prosecutor Hubble, who is sitting on them all. And he is not allowed to do that. He needs to resign because none of us who gave FOIA requests to him they haven't been answered. In fact, I had to do a FOIA request to find out how many of the 95 FOIA requests that his office has received have not been answered. So our records are being altered in violation of 750 MCL 750-248. It appears if we are backdating timestamps, you need to know who's doing that. This is your responsibility. Okay, when I give you, Ty Wessel, evidence of a crime in our land records, you don't give it to her. Deborah Allen is an implant of Rick Robbins. Rick Robbins orchestrated the whole thing of getting rid of our clerk. He told me he did. He called me several months ago and said, Renee, would you run for clerk? And to replace Michelle Crocker. I guess he does not like Michelle Crocker, but everything I've seen from Michelle Crocker is on board. There's nothing that she's doing that's fraudulent. I mean, you listen to Kathy, she seems to think everything is, well, there's some things that she thinks that she doesn't agree with. So what happened, according to Rick Robbins, is he decided he wanted to get rid of our clerk who was handling all of our finances. He brought in his neighbor, Deborah Allen, and she's running the show, the Rick Robbins show. She's running, okay? No. You don't get to do that. You need to resign because if you are backdating, oh, you're gonna cover for her when she backdates timestamps? Okay, I'm gonna be respectful, okay? You all need to do your job to protect all of us. We need to know what's going on with timestamps. We do have whistleblowers that will come forward. And that's all I have to say. Do your jobs.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to make public comment? Yes, Ms. Dawkins?
Happy New Year. And I do hope it's a happy new year. Kathy Dawkins, Leland Township. Several comments regarding public comment. I would like to see something at some point change that the public comments are county specific, are for things that you guys can work on, not something that goes on somewhere else or that you don't have any control over. The newspaper or somewhere else, Facebook, that's the place when you're talking about something going on somewhere else. But our time is valuable. I think the comment should be only about what you can work on as a board. Another thing on that is that the public comment not be something that the same person says every meeting. I've seen where we have people come in every meeting and say the same thing over and over and over and over again and again. I think that's a waste of everybody's time. Okay. As far as the administration and knowing what's going on with the county employees and the running of the county, I think it is important for whoever the administrator is to know that if a commissioner has a question or an issue about what's going on within this building or out in the frontline workers, if the commissioner has an issue with something that's going on, I think Deb or whoever is the administrator should be aware of it, because how can she or the administrator, how can the administrator help do their job in conjunction with the Board of Commissioners? If if the admin and the commissioners are not talking to each other. I know that when I worked here, if I had done something without notifying my boss, well, I don't know that that analogy works. Anyway, I think communication needs to be opened. And I don't see a problem with somebody notifying the administrator that a commissioner is asking questions about a certain issue. Frankly, I think the commissioner should have gone to the administrator first and say, hey, I want to know this, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm in the building, I'm checking it out, just letting you know. And then the administrator can maybe circumvent that and say, hey, I already know this and here's your answer. You don't have to involve so-and-so. Right here, you got your answer. If the public wants to know about what's going on with the county, my understanding is that's done through FOIA. I know this woman just talked about the FOIA requests not being answered. I'm not sure what the definition, her definition of answered is. I worked under Joe. I felt that he was very ethical and moral and did, compared to the prosecutors I had before Joe, he was always right on top of what was going on in that office. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that FOIA requests are not being answered. Now, maybe what they are is getting an answer they don't like. I don't know if that's the definition or if they're just being ignored, but I would be really surprised to hear that Joe's office is not responding, even if the answer is no, you don't get it. Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Keith Badum, Leelanau. I'd like to respond to that. As far as somebody coming here and saying the same thing over and over again, I believe if you look up your First Amendment, they have a right to do that. And I would hope that that person would file charges to anybody that would stop them from making comments, even if it's repetitive. We do have a constitution. We do a pledge of allegiance, and we all did an oath of office to uphold that. Thank you.
Any other public comment? I want to thank you for coming today. Yes.
Eric Lynn, Suttons Bay Township. Last Friday, I spoke about the committee structure and how we should get rid of it. I think you're moving in that direction. I like that. It does restrict information flow. It puts the power in two commissioners to pass judgment in the committee, which is then passed on and rubber stamped along the way. So I like the direction you're moving. I think we need to get rid of the committees and back to the way things were. Thank you.
Yes, Carrie.
Carrie Onan, Centerville Township. Thank you for your time and effort here at this first meeting. And it's going to be a little jumbled, forgive my jumping around a bit. Regarding the practice of redacting as far back as August of 2020, if I understood Administrator Allen correctly. It sounded like she stated complete documents have always been accessible to the board. And so one question we have is, does that mean the public has access as well? Or do we actually have to FOIA that sort of thing? We'd love to know that that's actually true, that all our commissioners actually have complete documents to go back to, even though they look redacted to someone as important as hopefully our permanent finance director or interim director. So that's one thing I heard. I heard the phrase well-accepted practice, and I think you guys got the gist. None of us are real comfortable with full redaction. No matter how often it was done in the past, it's not okay with us now. And I'd love to see, well, maybe the details are, oh, that's one thing, sorry. The packet that Administrator Allen passed out to all of you, I assume you didn't get that ahead of time. It sounded like,
I was mistaken.
you were mistaken? Okay, I thought I heard a comment, but I wasn't sure if it was in regards to that. So is there a way for those of us that are interested to get on that mailing list so that we too can look at that ahead of time? Or is that restricted to the commissioners, that sort of thing. We have the same challenge plus we're actually not included. So when you bring something to all of you guys, there are those of us that would very much like to follow along. Is there a way we can be included on that sort of, so that's a question I have. Let's see what else. Okay, regarding Commissioner Lautner's suggestion to allow public questions and comments to future presenters. Well, of course, we love that idea. We agree with giving us that option. Please advise us on how to be included, not only in that process, if it's just, I mean, make us aware of what the process is going to be so that we're not left out on a technicality or because we didn't understand the process. So help us understand that ahead of time if possible. And the future presenters, I do see sometimes presenters bring you stuff right in that moment, but is there a way for some of us to be in the loop of receiving their data and their presentation information ahead of time? That would help us make intelligent comments and questions to those presenters. We do want, some of us really do want to be a part of that process. So thank you for that. That's awesome. Let me see. Oh, we very much support, I think I touched on this, changing the practice of blanket redacting. And if you're unwilling or unable to refrain from that practice for some reason, we do expect you to help us understand legitimate reasons for doing so. So tell us something that actually makes sense. It's been done, it's just a regular practice that's been done way far back as August of 2020, which for some of us is not very far back. So that to some of us is not a legitimate reason to continue that kind of practice. Okay, bear with my silence. I think that's it. Thank you so much for your consideration on all these points, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Commissioner comment? Mr. Ruff?
Yeah, as chair of the personnel committee, getting ready for this afternoon's survey results, I contacted past administrator John yesterday and had a great conversation, and he shared with me some information that I thought kind of interesting. And in June, July of 2012, he did a similar climate survey himself using the SWOT, SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats method of gaining information from employees. And clearly, I don't think anyone other than Melinda will be on the board in 2012. So it was interesting. There was some very good information that came out of that survey, and I just wanted to share with you, and I'm not sure if this is his quote or someone he used on his quotes. It's not, there's no clear indication of who said this, but it says, in absence of clearly defined goals and an honest public understanding of what our issues and challenges are, we become, quote, strangely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. I just thought about that all night, that to define goals. You know, I asked to have goals setting as part of this meeting, and it didn't happen again. Without defined goals and honest public understanding of what our issues and challenges are, we are strangely loyal to performing daily acts of trivia. I think that was obviously a problem in 2012, and I feel like that's a problem still today. He did put out some next steps, and I understand that these were done. Review results with the department heads, provide employees with the results, develop goals and objectives, and share with the Board of Commissioners. So again, we're in this same boat right now, but I challenge us all, and I myself as the chair of the Personnel Committee, to take this information that we're going to get this afternoon to heart and action. I promise you, I will keep making it actionable items, not just rhetoric. And another big quote he had is, the most important thing is to keep it honest and keep it simple. You know, we're county government, we can do this, you guys, but we need to be honest with each other. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just in response to an earlier comment about the administrator and leadership in general, I, as a commissioner, feel like there are some inconsistencies happening, and I think that it is our responsibility as commissioners to work as a checks and balance system here and make sure that absolute power doesn't sit with one portion of the board, that it is evenly dispersed throughout the counties, and that's what we're here for. And so if we need to seek information, for instance, the reduction might not have been made public if, you know, we did that because we don't know necessarily if we would receive that redacted statement, and therefore finance would still be receiving those. So it's important for us to do our job, however we need to do it, and just keep us transparent as possible. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Other commissioner comment? For me, there were questions raised. There's no intention on the part of the board to limit the topics that can be talked about. And two, any of the information that we review in open session is available, and most of the time on the website, but you could always reach out if you want to see something. Thank you.
And I did also have a comment, I'm sorry, I did not see a hand. So I had this to say. I do not feel that I need to inform our administrator of every move that I make. So if that is the case, so every time one of us come into the courthouse and need to talk to a department head to tell our one employee what we're doing, I think is a little bit bizarre. I definitely was targeted because, as I said, this was not the first time. My job is not the administrator's job. There is a clear difference. So this is not what that was about. This was not about an administrator trying to learn their jobs. I've worked under several new administrators, and never once has any of those administrators ever tracked me inside this building. Now, if that's the case, and if this is how we're going to do our business, I would like you to please present to me every email, Deb, that you've received telling you what any commissioner is doing inside this building. It's an easy, it'll be a quick search engine. I guess it's going to come from Darcy or Laurel. So if you would get that to me, I would appreciate it. And when I get that, I will apologize for not understanding the new process of tracking commissioners through this building doing our statutory duties. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comment? Yes.
If I go in and I request information from the attorney that you have and that has, or anyone here, in regards to attorney-client privilege, I would hope that you log in the request that I asked for. Confidentiality in closed meetings, and attorney, they do have rights, okay? I mean, not everything. Basically, the closed meeting regulations and attorney-client should be kept.
Understand the attorney is our employee.
Still,
Okay.
there's leaks around here that gets in, like I said, gets in the ticker before I even read my emails, all right? I would love to know who's doing it.
Me too.
I'm ready to hear a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned. See you in 55 minutes.
55.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. See you in the meeting.
You know,
Shut up and go do it.